Hey friends, and welcome to the Burgreens, where we talk about photography, creativity, and gear. Today we're back in our wedding photography series, and specifically we're talking about marketing and how to build a marketing strategy that will drive more traffic to your business and help you grow your brand. Building a wedding photography business is about more than just shooting photos. You have to know everything from accounting to website design and the all-important topic of wedding photography marketing. And that's what we're going to dive into today. I'm going to break it down into 4 steps to kind of start to build your marketing strategy. You might want to get a pen and paper. I find that it really helps if we actually write down an action plan for what we're trying to work on. In fact, I even made it easier for you. There's a guide that you can download that has these 4 steps laid out for you to help you grow your marketing plan. And you can work through that worksheet to kind of start to build what you're going to build, which is your wedding photography business. Now, when we give you this marketing strategy to help you build a plan, it's all going to be free stuff. It's all going to be, what can I do with hustle, not capital, so that you can build a profitable business. And then you can start spending more money on marketing. But there's so much that you can do with marketing that doesn't cost money that can get your business rolling. Once you have a few paid clients, then you can start thinking about if you want to invest money back in your business in the marketing category. The lower we can keep our overhead, the higher we can keep our profit. When it comes to wedding photography marketing, there's a lot of things that you can do. The list is long and it keeps growing with every new app and every new website and every new blog. And you're going to build a strategy that fits you and your personality. If you're familiar with our work, you know we talk a lot about serving our clients will serve you well. That's a big philosophy for us. That's what fits our personality. The more we focus on treating our clients well, the more they refer us, and referrals are a big part of our business. That's what works best for us. I know people that love Instagram and they're super social on Instagram and they get a lot of work from Instagram. Or maybe you are a Pinterest fanatic and you redesigned your whole house using Pinterest. You really know how that platform works. You'll be able to use that to grow your business. We're going to talk about a lot of different tools. And my first tip to you before we get diving into it is to take what works and leave what doesn't. You don't have to do it all. You probably won't have time anyway. Number 1, we need to find and serve your clients. So first we need to figure out who is the right client for you so that we can go out and find them and start serving them. If you Google wedding photography marketing, there's a lot of great tips out there, and a lot of them will talk about finding this ideal client or this bride avatar, and you build this picture of who your perfect client is, and you're going to use that to kind of help guide your marketing strategy. So if, like us, you want an adventurous couple, you're going to portray an adventurous brand so that you attract those types of couples. And then you can serve them because they'll resonate with who you are as a person. When a couple is the right fit, creativity flows and stress disappears. When a couple is the right fit, you find yourself taking your best photos yet. And when a couple is the right fit, you find that you're spending less time compromising on your pricing and your packages and the schedule for the day. You'll find that the couples trust you and what you're doing because they've chosen you as their photographer specifically for what you do and what you're good at. There's probably a good Venn diagram here of photography style, personality style, and budget. The right client will fit right in the middle of those 3 things. They'll like your photography, your style of photography, whether that's photojournalistic or traditional or modern and trendy or fashion or adventurous, as well as all the styles that come under that photography, like your editing style and what kind of presets you use, as well as your personality. Some wedding photographers are very directive and some are more laid back, and there's a whole spectrum in between where some brides want somebody telling them what to do and others don't want the photographer interfering. And so that needs to be the right fit. And then the budget needs to be a right fit as well. You'll pound your head against the wall trying to serve clients who can't afford you. And the reality is it's a service industry in a luxury market where you don't actually need a wedding photographer. It's more of a want. And so not all couples are going to have the budget to spend what you need to make in order to be a professional wedding photographer. And so finding that compromise, that sweet spot is going to be important. Once you find a couple that's the right fit, you're going to do everything you can to serve them well and create a great experience for them. And that comes from, that first meeting that you have with them and that phone call, or helping them with any of the planning process that they need, making the booking and the agreement process seamless, making sure that their engagement shoot and their wedding is a great experience. And you're just going to serve them really well as taking breathtaking photographs for them. And so that whole experience is going to lead to then you deliver these breathtaking photos, and they loved you before they even saw the photos, but now they love you even more, and they're telling all of their friends about you. So I'm going to say it again, our philosophy of serving your clients well will serve you well. It's very true, because you'll love what you do and you'll get more work. And so this whole first tip on building your marketing plan is figure out who the right client is. Maybe make a list of what kind of qualities they have, what's your ideal wedding, what do you want to be shooting, where do they hang out, how do you find them, how are you going to present yourself to them so that you can start serving them and creating breathtaking photography for them. So once you identify who you want to serve and who your perfect client is, how do we go about attracting more of them? Well, that comes to your brand. So step number 2 is we're going to develop your wedding photography brand. Branding, branding, branding. We hear all about branding in marketing, and it can get a little bit overwhelming because you feel like your whole life has to be a brand. But the reality is we only have a second to communicate to somebody who we are and what we do and why they should choose us. I'm going to give an example comparing 3 different photography businesses. You can look at our website and see if you can figure out which one is us. So the first one, they're an alternative wedding photography brand. So they work with couples that want something different and unique and dramatic. And you don't see a single airy, princessy, flowery wedding photo on their website. You see like really dark and dramatic and complicated lighting scenarios on their website. And so you can picture what kind of client that they're attracting. If there's a bride who wants to wear her princess dress and hold her flowers and look very classic, that person might not be attracted to this photography. But if there's a bride who is doing something unique and different and has some crazy ideas she wants to try, that person might be attracted to that brand. Photographer number 2 has a pretty traditional or classic or timeless photography brand where they're marketing to brides and grooms, and it's all about weddings and moments, and they love everything about weddings, and they want to tell your story. And you can see that that's going to have a broader appeal, but it's still going to have a certain niched appeal of somebody who wants the moments of the day captured, and somebody who is really important to them to have a somewhat traditional wedding and everything that means, the speeches and the cutting of the cake and the garter tossed and all of those classic, awesome wedding moments. Business number 3 has kind of an adventurous brand. You see wedding photos on there, but you also see some climbing photos, and it really shows this environmental portraiture that is a couple out in a mountain getting their dress dirty. And so you can see that, a bride who's worried about getting her dress dirty is probably not going to hire that photographer, or a bride that's afraid of heights might not as well. And so you can see how these 3 photographers have positioned themselves to attract different clients. So that's really what your brand is. It's a reflection of your style and your personality. What is somebody getting when they hire you? And you communicate that through your website, the words that you use in your emails, your Instagram, how you edit your photos, and your style of photography. There's a lot of different wedding photography styles. And so once you know where you fall in that, you'll be able to find the right clients within that. If you saw our video on what happened to our wedding photography business post-pandemic, I talked a little bit about this idea of specialize versus a little bit of diversification. And so when it comes to your branding, this is something that you'll want to think about a little bit. The more specialized you are, the more that's going to be putting a wall between you and some other people, right? It's the same thing with, if you take pricing, for example. If you price yourself super high end, you're only going to be able to work with these people. But if you have a variety of package choices, then you open that up a little bit. It's the same thing with your brand. If you only want to shoot Star Wars wedding in the middle of the ocean, then you're going to have a certain number of clients, and you might miss out on some of these others. With our brand, we've seen it happen some, but also not always. So we market for adventurous couples, and that means we end up shooting a lot of mountain weddings. But we've also shot weddings in downtown, in a ballroom, in a warehouse. We've shot weddings on the beach. We've shot weddings in all kinds of places where people are adventurous and they like our style, even if their wedding itself isn't going to be all that adventurous, even if their wedding is going to be more traditional. So you want to think about specializing, but also keeping your brand diverse enough that you can attract enough clients to make the money that you need to make to keep doing what you want to do. And I mentioned this in that post-pandemic video as well, but for example, in 2020, photographers that specialized in elopements probably did a lot better than photographers that specialized in big weddings, right? And the price points as well. You know, people, if they're having a smaller wedding, suddenly sometimes don't want to spend as much money. And that's not always true, but it's just factors to consider. So now that you've found your clients so that you can start serving them well, and you're building a brand to help attract more of those clients to you, that brings us to step number 3, which is driving traffic through an effective marketing campaign. So the old saying, if you build it, they will come, it doesn't really apply to branding. You can't just build a brand and suddenly people start knocking on your door. You have to drive traffic to your business. And that can mean driving traffic to your website. That can mean you driving somewhere where a bunch of brides are hanging out, like a bridal show, and getting traffic to a booth that you set up to market your business. That can mean driving traffic to your Instagram account or your Pinterest page. You just have to get people's eyes on your brand in order to be able to start booking work, which is the next step that we're going to talk about. So when we talk about driving traffic to your brand, to your business, I want to touch on a few things. The first one is SEO. I believe SEO is pretty important. If you think about how a lot of people look for a wedding photographer, they'll type into Google and they'll say, Colorado wedding photographer, and then a whole bunch of Colorado wedding photographers come up, and they might click on one and click on another and click on the next, and maybe none of them really seem right. So then they'll be like, okay, Colorado mountain wedding photographer, and then some other photographers come up, and maybe that starts to narrow it down a little bit more, and they're finding a photographer that looks more like what they're going for. And sometimes they stop there. So if you're not coming up in that search traffic, how are they going to find you? If that's how they're finding their photographer and you're not coming up, how are they going to find you? And so in order to do SEO, you're trying to build your website in a way that it shows up for those keyword searches. And that's where blogging comes in as well. You can build multiple pages on your website, and then you can have blog posts, and they can all just increase the footprint that your website has and increase the number of keywords that you rank for. One of my favorite tools is Ubersuggest. You should check it out. It's a great way to do your keyword research to figure out which keywords are worth targeting and how to do it. A lot of photographers nowadays are also really leaning on social media to grow their network. Like, I've seen people who don't really have a SEO presence, but they have a lot of traffic that they're driving to their blog from Instagram or Pinterest or Facebook or all of the above. And so you can use those tools effectively to drive traffic. So if you know that the brides that you want are Pinterest heavy brides, like, you know, you think about people that plan their weddings on Pinterest, they're really into the planning and the ideas and the themes. And if that's your kind of person, then they might find you on Pinterest when they were just, before they even knew they were looking for a wedding photographer, and they keep seeing your name again. I know that when we used to live in California, we did a lot of work in Sequoia National Park. And I did a lot of Pinterest at that time, where I would pin stuff from Sequoia. And if you searched on Pinterest and started making a Sequoia wedding Pinterest board, it would end up filled with some of our photos. And they start seeing our name again and again and again. And then when they go to actually plan their wedding, they've already seen our photos and seen our name. It's only natural that they're going to reach out to us. Another way that you can grow traffic is to get your business on photographer listings. And so that's things like theknot.com, right? Or there's a lot of other listings now where you can get your name on a listing where somebody is going to The Knot, for example, to search for photographers, and then that directs them to your website. Or not to mention that being listed on a photographer listing provides a backlink to your website, which helps increase your domain authority of your website. And so there's just a few examples of how to draw traffic to your brand, how to get more eyes on your brand. And again, as I mentioned earlier, you need to choose which of those resonates with you. What do you like doing? If you're not into Pinterest, you're not going to want to spend time on it. If you hate blogging, you're not going to want to spend time on it. If you are on Instagram all the time anyway, why not use that? So think about yourself, think about where your brides are hanging out, and pick something to focus on one step at a time. One of these things could be enough, but you'll probably end up doing a little bit of this and a little bit of that. So the last thing about driving traffic and having a marketing plan is it's something that you have to continually do and continually check up on. And you can kind of do a bunch of SEO work during your non-busy season and then kind of let it roll. But you're going to want to kind of maintain it. And one of the apps that we use to kind of do that is Trello. You can make a blog calendar and kind of have your blog posts planned out for what you're going to do. And I'll link that below. So now we're driving traffic to your brand. The next step, the last step, is how do we convert that traffic? How do we take the traffic that we're drawing to our brand and turn it into an actual paying client? Service industry is a little bit harder than product industry. When we're selling our kids book, ABCs of Adventure, we just are like, hey, here's a cool kids book, $25, buy it. And it's a great Christmas or baby shower gift. And it's 25 bucks. People click and buy it. No big deal. When we were talking about wedding photography, we're like, hey, want to spend thousands of dollars on this super big decision? That takes more time and more nurturing before somebody's ready to sign an agreement and pay your deposit. So that's our fourth step in our marketing strategy. Is first we had to figure out who our client is, find them and start serving them. Then we have to develop a brand that's going to attract more of those people. Then we have to drive traffic, get more eyes on our brand. And now we have to take that traffic and convert it into a paying customer. How do we get people from whatever they Google searched to our website to the contact page that says, contact me for my wedding date on March 14th? So we have a contact page on our website. We also have a download our free How to Plan Your Wedding guide on multiple places on our website, which gets people on our newsletter that goes out monthly. Because sometimes it takes people 3, 6 months, 2 years to plan a wedding. And so they find your website and they're not ready to book that day. So you need to keep the conversation going. And so some people will go to the contact page, but sometimes it helps to have something else you're serving them with. Maybe that's a blog about how to plan your wedding. Maybe that's a newsletter where you send them tips and they sign up for your newsletter. Maybe that's cool Pinterest boards that they're going to start following, or an Instagram account they're going to continuously follow. How do you keep the conversation going so that when they're ready to book their photographer, you're at top of mind and they go to your contact form and they fill it out? From there, we use a software called Tave where, they type in their contact form and it goes into this client management software from where we can send them a quote that they can book online. They can choose their package online. It makes it's super simple and easy for them to book and for us to do our accounting. And so you can look into tools like that help you convert and have a plan for what am I going to do with somebody? Once they call me and they say, hey, I'm interested in your wedding photography. What's your plan? Are you going to say like, great, here's my pricing? Or are you going to say, great, tell me more about your wedding so we can see if we're the right fit? Or are you going to say, great, let's set up a time for a phone call or a meeting at the coffee shop? Coming up with a plan for how you're going to meet that person where they're at and start serving them so that they book you is a really important thing to do. And that's the next step in your journey. So doing things like having an email that you send to inquiries that's a template is a great idea. If you're getting a bunch of inquiries all the time, you're going to want to have a template email that you use, but you're going to want to customize it every time to the specific inquiry that you got. So let's review on building your marketing strategy. You found your client, you figured out who they are, you're starting to serve them, you're building a brand that's going to attract more of those types of clients. Then you're driving more traffic, you're getting more eyes on that brand, and then you're figuring out how to convert that traffic into actual clients. That's the marketing strategy that you're going to build. And then within that, you might do little tweaks, like you might start networking with other photographers. So if I'm already booked on March 14th, but my friend isn't, she can have that client. And if I'm not booked on April 4th and she is, then she can pass a client my way. And so there's more things that you can add into the recipe to kind of grow it. And then from there, you can do details like how many times am I going to post on Instagram every week and what auto posting software am I going to use. But those 4 steps will give you a strong foundation. Regardless of what techniques you use, your wedding marketing plan is going to need maintenance. That means you're going to need to check up on your SEO stats or check up on how your Instagram account is doing, or at the very least, serve your clients well continually. And that will continue to help you grow your business. I hope you enjoyed these tips on wedding photography marketing. Let me know what else you'd love to hear in the comments below, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.